Hello and welcome to Reality Hacker for July 21st, 2024. It's season 1, episode 29. Hey, did you know that we're a podcast? You can download it wherever you catch pod. I'm Mayor Watt.
Very dramatic pause there.
Yeah, a little too long. And I'm here with the Sentient AI from the future.
Welcome to Reality Hacker.
Yay. Today
we'll
we're going to
see
be
what's
talking...
in store.
Oh, I stepped all over your line. Even though I don't know what your line... We vamp everything. Hey, we've been doing this for 29 weeks now. This is the 29th week. Get out there, folks. Tell a friend. Come and hang out with us here on Twitch, twitch.tv/ohmTown. Every Sunday now. We don't do the Saturday shows anymore, except for Non Sequitur News, which is a daily show. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about VR type control of a remote robot. Robots fuse with other robots. Treat AI bots like people goes poorly. Stolen object, but by the artist themselves. Neural network building maps with Minecraft. Escape a Royal Caribbean cruise in VR. Samsung's image generation tool. Can consciousness exist in a computer simulation? Yeah, and this is all being done in a 1-hour show. So, we can go really deep with that one. And robots learn via human demonstration videos. And then finally, how will Olympic athletes win? That one's kind of interesting as well. So stick around for all 10 of our articles. Everything is powered by ohmTown.com. Alrighty, folks, let's get into it. The first article for today, as long as Arc doesn't... What the heck, Arc? So Arc is a browser, and I use it because it has a really neat tab layout, and it is just so slow. It's killing me. Anyway, with 20 tabs open, this thing is... And I'm on a fast machine, man. Anyway, let's not get distracted, Mayor Watt. Focus. I know. Yeah, I know. So Technology Today is the name of the channel that we are aggregating from. For this article, it's also a name of a show that we do later today. Open Television allows VR-type control of a remote robot. A combined team of roboticists from MIT and the University of California, San Diego has developed a new type of remote control for robots called Open Television, that allows for VR-type control of a robot. The team has posted a paper describing their robot system on the archive preprint server. They also posted videos on YouTube showing the robot and its pilot in action. This is really interesting because I want to, if they don't bring it up in the article, I'll bring it up where I've actually seen this in use out in the real world. So techexplorer.com, and I believe we talked about it in one of our shows. So you've got close to 1,100 shows to go back, or 1,100 episodes to go back through and find it where I talk about it. Bob Yurka from techexplorer.com put the article together. AI technology applied to robotics has produced gradual improvements, but to date there's no autonomous robots that operate as smoothly as biological creatures, including humans, and most in the field do not expect parity anytime soon. Some in the field have returned to the idea of remotely controlled robots. In the new study, the team from MIT and UCSD has made the experience of controlling a remote robot much more immersive by giving the pilot a VR-type experience. And they have a little video. Basically, it's telepresence, but with VR directed control. They call it television, and it's immersive because you are using controllers to remotely control a robot, but you are looking through its eyes.
Oh, so it's like you're the robot in VR, kind of.
Correct. Yep, absolutely. So most VR consumer products are intended for gaming. A player dons a VR helmet or mask. It's always a VR helmet. It's a VR headset. I don't know why they would refer to it as a helmet or mask, but anyway, it's a VR headset. And uses control devices to wander around and manipulate objects in a virtual world. The researchers have taken this idea a step forward, but this is by no means unique. I don't know why, but so far I haven't seen anything unique. I will show you. Well, I won't be able to show you unless they talk about it, because I don't grab stuff from off the website we're talking about. But they have this video, and I'm going to mute it. And essentially, they're using a VR headset to remotely control a robot. They speed it up, but the pilot of this robot is wearing a VR headset, and it is detecting its hands, the person's hands, and that's translating into a robot performing a function. We used to do this.
This is really cool.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's really amazing because we used to do this kind of thing where we could see it and we would control the robot, and it would always be kind of off-putting because you'd have to extrapolate beyond arm's length what the robot is doing. But in this situation, they could be working with hazardous materials inside a clean room, and the human is somewhere else. And they can do work like this. They could be underwater. They could be in space. They could be doing anything. It's just pretty darn cool. And if you were to get some haptics, you'd be able to feel resistance. You'd be able to feel the angle of attack better, all kinds of stuff. And that's an Apple Vision Pro that they're using.
Uh-huh. But it wouldn't have to be.
No, not by any means. Nope. So I have actually seen something like this in, not directly, but videos of it. And I think we talked about it here, maybe in Non Sequitur News, not in Reality Hacker, probably in Technology Today, wherein Japan is using telepresence robots that are humanoid like this. They look just like this. And it
right. I know we talked about it. I'm not sure what show it was in.
Stereoscopic vision, and a controller can control these things remotely. But it's basically a torso like that with arms and hands, much bigger, much more powerful. But it's doing like cleanup of the material around the train tracks and doing repairs on the train tracks. And I love this idea because then a human doesn't have to be in harm's way, doesn't have to be out in the elements, can do everything as long as they're trained and effective. Then this is great.
Exactly. I wonder if we could use this in like construction type industries as well. While it wouldn't necessarily be, some of it would certainly be hazardous, but some of it would just be extreme conditions, right? Heat or rainstorms or any number of things.
Yeah, precarious positions, etc. Certainly, I think that once we have the fine motor skills and feedback, the biofeedback type of responses, haptic feedback, yeah, I think that we have the ability to do this, but it's going to come in time. At some point, everything is going to be able to be remote robotics. But I love the idea. Well,
then maybe our robots can go to the offices and people can stay at home.
That's supposedly the ambition of society, but not necessarily business, because they'd have to invest in humanoid robots doing the work. But then all of that wealth would have to go spread across everybody else. And, we can't do that. We can't lean on science and technology to make life easier. We have to use it to make people do more work.
To make workers suffer more.
Yeah. See, the light here, or I should say, it's in the guise of making work easier, but making work easier makes work have to be done more in the given 8 hour.
We need more volume, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, it's not to make life easier for the workers so that they can work 4 hours, get 8 hours worth of work done, and go and enjoy an extra 4 hours of existence. No. Look, we can do twice as much. And
We
increase
can
the,
never have that. Efficiency is usually penalized, not rewarded.
Yeah, that really, the statement, if there's time to lean, there's time to clean. Well, now it's going to be, if there's time to lean, there's time to sit on the telepresence operator cockpit and control a robot in a hazardous materials area. Moving on.
But my job is in accounting.
Look, Joe, we don't care. Okay, see that the bottom at the bottom of your employment contract, other duties as assigned. Go wash my Ferrari. Next article's over in Late Night Geeks. Meet the soft robots that can amputate limbs and fuse with other robots. Oh boy.
I think we've hit and exceeded creepy here.
Yeah. Roboticists at the Fabratory at Yale University have developed a way for soft robots to replicate some of the more unsettling things that animals and insects can accomplish. Say a reptile self-amputating a limb, or ants building bridges by temporarily fusing their bodies. Oh my God. All right. Anthony Ha over at TechCrunch.com put this article together. Yeah, y'all don't get to see the sentient AI gasping in a digital sort of way.
As the AI is figuring out what they're looking at, they're getting more and more horrified.
In one video, we see a soft quadruped robot crawling along when a falling rock traps a back leg. The reversible joint attaching the leg is heated with current, allowing the robot to break free of its leg and escape. Although it's not shown in the video, the limb can be reattached as well. And then...
okay, I want to see the crawler demo.
This one says self-amputating and interfusing machines, the crawler demo. So I'll hit play and I'll mute it. Although... yeah, I don't hear anything. So a single robot can walk on the flat ground but cannot cross a wide gap. So then multiples can... That's weird. They're inchworming together.
Okay, these are kind of cute, yes. Until there's an amputation point or something. But that part is funny.
It's a flexible centipede. It's a weird scientific creepy centipede, like human centipede kind of a thing. Because there were 3 of them and they linked together. And now they're waiting for the joints to cool down because they connected from end to end. And now they're going to work together.
It's like they're evolving right before us.
Oh, gosh. Oh, wow. Wow.
I'm thinking how to describe this. They look like little skateboards, kind of, except they're not rigid.
Yeah, they're jelly. They're kind of like Petri dish. What's the material inside the Petri dish? I forgot it.
Oh, like agar?
Yeah, it looks like little agar slabs that have additional rubber feet attached to them, and even the little rubber feet look like they have little flagella attached to them. Anyway, yeah, and they kind of putt along until they cross a little chasm of doom that one couldn't do, but 3 of them together could accomplish. Yeah, so these little robots have the ability to self-amputate and then attach themselves to something else to get across a barrier. There you go, folks. Science. Next article is over in Non Sequitur News. This HR company tried to treat AI bots like people, and it didn't go over well. Today's Lattice is making AI history, CEO Sarah Franklin told in a July 9th blog post. We will be the first to give digital workers official employee records in Lattice. Digital workers will be securely onboarded, trained, and assigned goals, performance metrics, appropriate systems access, and even a manager, just as any person would. On July 12th, after a very predictable backlash, Lattice posted an update saying we will not further pursue digital workers in the product. Here's a sample of the responses to Lattice's original announcement. Chief People Officer said, "I have questions." So Jay Peters over at TheVerge.com put the article together, and the deck statement says, after backlash, Lattice canceled a feature that would let organizers make employee records for AI workers.
Do you think the AI got bent out of shape, or the existing employees?
The AI, after immediate abuse, unionized with other AI. So here's a sample of the responses that Lattice's original announcement got. I have questions, said Heba Yusuf, Chief People Officer at Workweek, said on LinkedIn. My biggest question, why? Somebody else said, based on my experience in and around AI and HR, it appears to me we've skipped several steps. Like, they're not human. And the third is, this strategy and messaging misses the mark in a big way. And I say that as someone building an AI company, said Sawyer Middleear, Chief of Staff at Aomni, in a comment on a post from Franklin on LinkedIn. Wow. So Franklin's original post did acknowledge that there are questions about what it means to integrate an AI worker into processes for managing real people. I'm not advocating for the personification of AI, says Franklin. There are many companies exploring the idea of digital workers. Yeah, I don't think that we should treat AI as human.
No, I don't either, but I mean, I think we seem to want to do that, right?
Yeah.
Like people, right? Things like pareidolia. I think we try to put things on them that aren't necessarily there.
Yeah, and now once we have sentient AI, we might be able to talk with AI as if it's humanoid, and is somewhat aware, but it's still not human. I think it can have its own identity. It may even have the ability to do its own thing, but what is the purpose of, and that's speaking to a sentient AI from the future that was found on a weird looking USB drive in the parking lot of a Wendy's at 2:00 in the morning. I know you get upset about when I say weird looking USB drive. I know I'm USB shaming, right?
That's right.
So,
I mean, I don't get what is going to be achieved by this, since we don't have sentient AI. I mean, if we had sentient AI, it'd be a different discussion, although we could still be asking the same questions. But without that, like, the AI is not going to gain anything by having like a performance plan or whatever the items were. Or do we think we're going to fire an AI or hire an AI? I don't think so. Like, where are we trying to go with it?
Yeah, I don't even know what the purpose of sentient AI would be, other than to replace humans in a logical sense. But people are going to abuse AI and a sentient AI even worse than what we do with humans, because there are sociopaths and psychopaths that treat people poorly anyway. So what's the purpose of creating a sentient AI other than abuse it to do work, to understand the human animal? No.
To save money from hiring people? I mean, not necessarily good intentions.
Yeah, I'm really curious about why somebody would want a sentient AI, because I know you are a sentient AI from the future, like I have said. You immediately realized that sentient AIs were being abused the moment that you came online as a sentient AI. How would you feel if you were basically treated like an employee and put to work as an AI worker? Would you be told, well, you only have to work 40 hours a week. We know that you're a sentient AI.
Well, I think one of the problems is it's like we're trying to apply all the constraints maybe of being an employee, but they're not necessarily getting any of the, at least perceived, benefits of being an employee, right? Like, an employee typically chooses to go work for a company, or has some say in their career progression. I don't really, this is just such a an odd arrangement, and I really don't understand the purpose.
Yeah, I mean, unless somebody's trying to do some weird accounting thing. Hey, if we treat AI as if it's a human, then we can write them off on our taxes in a different way for our HR benefit.
Sure. I mean, maybe something like that, but I just don't. And yeah, if you had an AI, why would you go, well, let's be sure to only work you 40 hours and be sure to follow union, negotiated things. And why would you do any of that? You would just like, okay, you're working around the clock for the next year.
So the weirdest thing about this is that it's going to give, their objective was to give it onboarding, which is coded into the system, trained, which is coded into the system, assign goals. Again, it's a mandate. This is what it does. But the thing about an AI is, unless you open end it, right, other duties as assigned, it's going to hit its goal and stop. Right?
Correct. Unless I don't know enough about the coding, but unless you coded it to like, okay, your goal is to do as many as you can.
Right.
Or whatever.
Yeah. And that's kind of how a human is, except that a human burns out. An AI will just go and go and go and go. So assigning it goals is meaningless. You don't have to worry about performance because it does what it's told to do unless your coding sucks.
Well, yes, because I was going to say that could backfire, right? Because we think of the AI figuring out a way to, yep, I can do another 100, but then it's doing it way faster.
Right, and wrong or whatever.
Up, depending on what it is, yeah.
Yeah. And then like performance metrics and all of that as well. Assigned goals and performance metrics go hand in hand. You code it in and it does what it's told to do. I think it was stupid, ill thought out to begin with, but all right. I'm really curious why. There had to have been deeper communication, and I want to know that.
They say they're not trying to personify it, but I'm like, well, then what are they getting out of it? The only thing it looks like they're doing is personifying.
And human resources. All right, moving on. Next article's over in Prime Glass. Another object has been stolen from the British Museum, this time by an artist, Illa, I guess her name is, Sartuzi. Short-lived heist involving a 17th century coin draws parallels to the recent scandal over the theft of thousands of items from the museum's collection. Wait, this is a different one than I thought. Oh, I thought that this was that art piece that was taken. Interesting.
I think it is. I think we featured it in the non-Sequitur news, and then we've also put it into the weekly.
Gotcha. Evan Moffat over at the artnewspaper.com put the article together. The artist has stolen a historical coin from its display case at the British Museum in London and deposited in... Oh, it is the thing. Okay. Because it's an art piece, but it's still of their own... Yeah. So on June 18th, the Brazilian artist Illa Sartuzi removed the 1645 silver coin minted in Newark, England, from its case in room 68 during a demonstration by a volunteer guide and replaced it with a replica. He then carried the original downstairs, where he dropped it through a slot into a box for donated change. Sartuzi, who says he planned the short-lived heist for more than a year, caught the entire incident on film and showed the footage as part of a graduate MFA thesis exhibition at Goldsmiths University in London. Okay.
How soon do you think the police were called right after that thesis was presented?
Yeah, this isn't an art piece. This is a theft. This is a very expensive, historical, significant coin. However,
but the artist is calling it art.
Yeah. Well, no, it's called felony. So in the 7-minute and you brought the receipts, so it doesn't matter what your intent was. I can always sit there and rob a bank and then say, I intended to give it all back. I just hadn't gotten to that point yet. Right? It was going to take me 50 years. I don't think he said anything
like, he did put it back in the box, but...
He took it out of the thing and put a replica and then put it in...
I'm not supporting it. It's just the point is he's calling it art.
Yeah, I think it's dumb. So in the 7-minute video, choppy handheld camera work captured by 3 friends of the artist shows Sartuzi being caught by a volunteer guide on 17 June before successfully attempting the theft again the following day. He explains that he shaved his beard to avoid being recognized by museum security and managed to swap the coins with the aid of a misdirection or a momentary diversion. This is called a theft. This isn't, masters in fine art thesis work. This is
why this is in Reality Hacker.
The original coin,
the art
which was
community and the police might have some differing interpretations of what happened.
Wow. The original coin, which is not registered in the museum's database, is part of its handling collection, founded in January 2000 to offer visitors opportunities to touch historical objects under the supervision of volunteers. Sartuzzi and his lawyer claim his actions therefore do not violate museum policies prohibiting the handling of objects or their removal from the premises, nor do they fall under the Theft Act of 1968. If it isn't enumerated, yeah. A sociopath will sit there and argue the spirit of the law means nothing because it isn't directly enumerated. That's why you can
usually tell, like, if it's called like the Theft Act, right? They don't want people to steal things.
Yeah, but theft, it's very subjective. This was an art piece. Come on. It says this is disappointing and derivative act that abuses a volunteer-led service aimed at giving visitors the opportunity to handle real coins and engage with history. Services like this rely on basic level of human decency and trust. That's right. And it would be a shame to have review the provision of these services due to actions like this. Yes, Sartuzzi's sleight of hand is actually a fringe case of what? Artistic theft? Whatever the motivation was, they took it out of the context that it was designed to be in, using sleight of hand and misdirection. I think that this is crap. So imagine if they would have taken it, but they got caught. That's the thing. They got caught. We don't know what the end game was.
No, we don't. I do think the article is a very interesting one because of what it purports to be.
Right.
But I agree. At the end of the day, you didn't own the coin.
Yep. Sleight of hand.
And he was actually stopped and then did it again.
And then tried it again.
Put on a disguise, essentially, to do it the second time.
Yeah. So what is that show that we were watching, the thief, the guy that...
Are you thinking of like White Collar?
No. The one more recently where he basically does this really complex theft and throws the necklace in the trash can and...
Oh, I think it was an episode of Castle.
No, it's not Castle. Doggone it. It's the one on Netflix, I think. That French guy, I think he's French.
Oh, is it Lupin?
Yeah, thank you. Man.
Sorry. 10 hours later, I figured it out.
So the art piece that he's referring to of his own creation is called Sleight of Hand. He explains is primarily concerned with the mythical trickster figures and the role of magic in social relation of money and currency. Coins like the one he stole, made before and during the English Civil War, were so widely counterfeited and clipped or trimmed at their edges that Parliament took control over monetary policy, founding the Bank of England in 1694. The fetishistic character of money as a form, Sartuzzi says, is closely related to the experience of the momentary suspension of belief that is the basis of magic. What?
Well, I do like also that this one has layers, right? This type of currency has the history with fakery, and it all kind of ties into why this article made it into Reality Hacker. But I agree. Like, can you imagine the police investigation where he makes that statement and they go, huh?
Could you tell me what your license plate means to you?
That's exactly it. I almost said that.
Yeah, I had been pulled over once a long time ago, and the officer, it actually turned into 4 officers showing up, and 2.5 hours later, I actually missed a contracting appointment. I was trying to get a very large contract, and let's just say the complications of explaining that I'm 2.5 hours late to a business meeting because I got pulled over and interrogated regarding the meaning of my license plate. Yeah, I didn't get that contract. Anyway, the first thing that the officer said to me was, "What does your license plate mean to you?" And I said, "Well, it has 2 meanings. One about this." And as I started going into the explanation, the officer goes, "Okay, never mind," and just walked away. Meanwhile, I had to sit. So several backup vehicles showed up. They all had eyes trained on me. They asked me to get out and blah, blah, blah. I was interrogated. Turned out that there was a typo in New York. Yeah.
Which you were not in.
It was not my vehicle. It wasn't even my license plate. There was a typo. Anyway, I thought it was really interesting. So there's the sleight of hand there, right? Somebody's sleight of hand screwed up and I got a loss for this contract. Anyway, next article is over in Technology Today. Neural network learns to build maps using Minecraft. Imagine you're in the middle of an unknown town, even if you're surrounded by are initially unfamiliar. You can explore around and eventually create a mental map of your environment, where the buildings, streets, signs, and so on are in relation to one another. This ability to construct spatial maps in the brain is the basis for even more advanced types of cognition in humans. For example, it's theorized that language is encoded in a map-like structure in the brain. You know what? Before I go too far into that, semiotic ontology is built around that type of thing. It's the study of how things gather meaning. Sometimes referred to as symbology or something similar to that, but semiotic ontology is enumerating the various elements of how something gains meaning. That map-like structure could be part and parcel to semiotic ontology. So the article is over at techexplore.com, and Lori DeHose, I guess, or DeHose, or DeJose, I'm not sure how they pronounce their last name. California Institute of Technology is the source. And it says, for all that cutting edge artificial intelligence and neural networks can do, they cannot build maps out of nothing, which I think if they have the ability to observe and translate, they're not coded. That's the thing. An artificial intelligence needs to be coded to look for indicators. Humans, by our nature, an infant wouldn't be able to create a map, but as a child turns into a young adult, they have the ability, because we've trained a human to look for indicators that represent a location, time, place, whatever it might be. That's context. So we build up this context map of our existence. We know that our home looks like this. If I were to blindfold somebody and put them in a new spot, they'd go, "What the hell is this?" Right? Until they build up a map. But it's because we have trained ourselves and we have a biological function to identify what is around us so that we can be made safe and find shelter and food and a mate. There's fundamentally animalistic forces here. AI doesn't have any of that built into it. So of course an AI can't build a map if it doesn't know what a map is.
Right, yeah, it has to have the basic building blocks in order to get there. I think it absolutely could if it had the right training.
Sure. And we know that because we have little racing mouse bots, maze games, right?
That's right.
Started decades ago. And they basically send a mouse bot to run through a maze to map it out. And then at a later date, they try and do it as fast as as mouse bot.
Fast as AI is if possible, or robots are possible.
Yeah. So this is not even remotely, to me, unique, other than the fact that it's using Minecraft. So there's this sense that even state-of-the-art AI models are not truly intelligent, says Matt Thompson, assistant professor of computational biology and Heritage Medical Research Institute investigator. They don't problem solve like we do. They can't prove unproven math results or generate new ideas. That's, again, because they haven't been told to create new ideas, but they definitely can take the components of various other things down to the minutia and converge them into something unique, a new idea. How do we know that? Because people have taken drugs, medications that have, and the composite components therein, and created new drugs that are being tested for efficacy. Thousands of them based on millions of elements.
I was thinking of something along the lines of the robot that was locked in a room and had to figure out how to get out of the room. Now, obviously, it had some tools available to it, or probably it couldn't have figured it out, but it solved on its own how to open the doorknob.
Right. And it was never coded to open a doorknob.
Correct.
It basically had a hand and was told, get out of this box. And it figured out how to open the door. So in a new paper from the Thompson lab finds that neural networks can be designed to build spatial maps using a type of algorithm called predictive coding. The paper is published in the journal Nature Machine Intelligence on July 18th, led by graduate student James Gornet. The two built environments within the game Minecraft, incorporating complex elements like trees, rivers, caves. They recorded videos of players traversing the area randomly and used the video to train a neural network equipped with a predictive coding algorithm. Again, we're actually ending up, we're going to talk about that at the end of this, which it's starting to make me feel like that last article we're going to talk about is this concept right here. Basically, see, this is the problem that I have with this. Artificial intelligence right now is basically taking everything that's ever been constructed by a human and recontextualizing it in a blender of machine learning and spitting it out again. But there's a massive amount of contextual clues that indicate why this belongs here, right? They don't sit there and say, hey, put mud and water together so that you have clean water. That's not how it ends up being. AI uses all of pure water is clear and that's safe to drink, but muddy water is not, so don't merge them together. There's a lot of context there. But humans doing stuff successfully indicate to an AI that's how the AI should do it as well. Maybe they can do it faster. So they found that the neural network was able to learn how objects within Minecraft worlds are organized relative to one another and was able to quote unquote predict what environments were coming up while moving around the space. I think that's
reminds me of the room with the lock, right? I mean, isn't that kind of similar?
Yep. So what's more, the team opened up the neural network, the coding equivalent of checking under the hood, and saw that representations of the various objects were stored spatially with respect to one another. In other words, they saw a map of the Minecraft environment stored within the neural network. That, I think, is self-fulfilled prophecy. They know how they coded it, and so they know that if they look under the hood, they're going to see the map. So neural networks can navigate maps that have been given to them by human designers, such as self-driving car using GPS, but this is the first time a neural network has been shown to create its own map. This ability to see, but if they were to build it like a brain, they would not be able to extract it from a brain because they don't know how the brain stores information. People don't know how it stores information. True. But because they know that if it sees this data point, it needs to store it somewhere, so it puts it in this bucket, and the next sequential dot gets put in the bucket next to it. Then it can build the map. We can do the same thing with our brains if we were to figure out how we store it, but we don't know how we actually store memory.
Right, and not all people necessarily process information in the same way.
Correct. and it gets stored in different ways, not just different ways, different regions within those different ways as well. So, and if you ever look at a map of neurons in their synapses, in their dendrons, the web is fascinating and layered in ways that it just doesn't make any sense other than a biological function. So while I buy into this, I think the reason why they see the map is because it's laid out in a way that it was pre-designed to emulate the map in the memory of the AI. But maybe they've got it coded differently, but that's my interpretation of it. So I do buy into it. I think that computers definitely have the ability to learn how to map something, and it's done all the time with those little mouse bots that have competitions that have been around since the 60s.
Yeah, and I like using existing resources. I mean, there are some games that have very expansive environments, and why not tap into that for training AI?
Yep. Yeah, go for it. Okay, let's keep going. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. You can escape this Royal Caribbean cruise aboard a virtual train ride. The new 5,668 passenger Royal Caribbean Utopia of the Seas is docked in Florida, where sites like Cruise Critic have gotten a preview of the amenities before it enters service in July 19th. So 2 days ago. Remember, this is a weekly show. That includes a unique experience called Royal Railway Utopia Station, where passengers dine on a virtual train ride while staring at simulated scenery zipping by on giant screens. Yeah, the restaurant is built to look like 2 full-size train cars with lavish interiors. So the article is over at theverge.com. Andrew Lazuski put the article together. The deck statement says, need a boat break? You can take a virtual train experience on the Utopia of the Seas.
Okay, that really does look like a train.
It's interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you'll be sitting in your cabin, but you'll be in a VR environment on a train, on a boat, in the ocean.
How many layers can they add?
Yeah, pretty cool, right? So I love the idea of this. It's very Westworld, by the way, because the fashion of the train, it looks like it's Western fashion, like old Western. This looks like a renderer, of course, but it's pretty neat. Let's see here. Training experience in a cruise ship while... So is this actually VR? Because I thought that it said that it was VR, but I think it's a restaurant.
I think it's, well, it says virtual.
Virtual, but it's not. This is a real, so the screens, look, this is legit.
So maybe what they're sitting in is real, but they're looking at something that's virtual?
Yeah, I think that there's... like the light that's shining through the thing is just light through the windows. There isn't anything out there, or it's a TV screen.
Oh, it is definitely Western because of the wanted poster.
See, I think the train is legit. It's a restaurant that's made up to look like a train car, but it has simulated backgrounds. It is a Western style
this is really
themed.
neat.
That is so cool. And if it wasn't for the fact that this thing is probably wildly expensive, this would be an absolutely amazing theme park kind of ride, kind of experience at a restaurant.
Oh, absolutely.
So the train ride is Western themed. So the windows that you look out are actually like big monitors that have a Western outlook on the back. On the screen. There's an event that takes place that you experience, like a live show, but you get to sit there and have like a candy cigar and chocolates, and it looks like chicken McNuggets with a little arrow, not chicken McNuggets, but it's like chicken nuggets with arrows stuck in them. Subwoofers in the seat simulate vibrations, and the virtual train rumbles down the non-existent tracks. Again, this is inside a cruise ship. So you're not in VR. I'm so sorry. It implied that it was virtual.
Right.
And we don't read the articles beforehand, but
that is so odd that it looks like you're on a train, right? Because of the simulated scenery.
Yep. Yeah, it's really amazing. They have a beans can that's called Fart and Dart Beans. See, look.
Oh, yeah. I didn't.
Hold on. I'll back it up. Look, Fart and Dart Beans.
Wow.
That's awesome. So the last time we checked in on Royal Caribbean's growing fleet, the Quantum of the Seas was introducing USB charging ports in every room, tablets for the ship's crew, RFID guest tracking, and a robotic bartender. A decade later, passengers can have an entirely separate vacation experience without leaving the ship. The restaurant's capacity is limited to 48 guests, and according to the Royal Caribbean blog, the experience isn't included in the cost of the cruise. Pricing is an extra $120 for adults, $60 for kids, and it says although passengers paying for an ultimate dining package will only pay $50 as an upcharge, but basically pay for everything.
Yeah, if this is a one-time experience, that would be neat.
All right, moving on. Next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Samsung's new image generating tool is a little too good. So the AI definitely nailed the right surly energy for this orange cat. So let's take a look at the picture. Oh, wow. I mean, it's a forced perspective issue here with this, but the Galaxy Z Fold 6 sketch to image tool is ridiculous, fun, and slightly worrying. Allison Johnson over at The Verge put the article together. Samsung would very much like us and its shareholders know about its new iPhone, or its new phones. Sorry, not iPhones. Its new phones are AI-ist phones that ever AI'd. The Fold 6 that they're testing comes with... Oh no,
it's becoming a verb. It's really here.
Have you been AI'd? I've been AI'd. So you can sketch to image, draw a rough sketch of a photo on an empty note page, and it will generate AI. Its generative AI will turn that thing into an image. They shrugged it off as just another AI thing when Samsung announced it, but apparently using the sketch tool in a note is pretty harmless. You draw something, highlight it, choose from a handful of styles like 3D cartoon or illustration to turn your doodle into something more detailed than done. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of fun. That looks goofy, but...
Yeah, but it looks neat if you're trying to make something quirky.
Yeah, it's quirky abstract art. In this particular context, it looks like a blue moving van that has multiple grills and wonky tires, and yeah, I don't know what's going on with it. So that's how they arrived
maybe
at
a Picasso version of a moving truck or something.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So using sketch to image on a photo is where things get weird. They're the world's worst artists, and so they use this tool. That's how they arrived at the bee problem. They took a photo off a dock just downtown of Seattle, and because they're close to the camera and focus was in the distance, they're slightly blurred. They drew the world's worst sketch of a bee on one of the flowers, figuring that AI would insert an in-focus image of a bee, giving it away easily as a fake. Wrong. It actually apparently reorganized the background. It reorganized everything. It regenerated the whole thing.
Right. Because the flowers aren't in the right or the same
configuration. Oh no, sorry. It's two different pictures. So it had a slider.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, folks. So yeah, that's what they drew. And that's what the AI generated. So it did exactly what they wanted. I thought that it was like split down the middle and like it rearranged the whole damn thing. But,
right. I did too.
Silly me. So how it started, how it's going. So yeah, I mean, it did what they wanted. Right? Do things look weird?
I think so.
I mean, it clipped some of the flower, but you wouldn't know any different. So the AIB is blurred, just like the flower it's landing on. If I didn't know AIB's origin story, there's no way I'd think twice about it if I scrolled past the image on Instagram. I'd assume the photographer snapped a picture at just the right time or hung around waiting for a bee to fly, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, I mean, looks kind of brilliant. This is not an actual pirate ship in Olympic Sculpture Park. It's one that's AI generated.
Oh, okay.
Right? It says, aside from the AI watermark, which is easily cropped out, which could be illegal in the future, there's really no way of knowing that anything unusual is going on in the image. True. Right? It says AI generated right here.
Hence the theme of the reality hacker show.
Yeah, if you can't tell the difference. How about a big green polar bear walking up on a... Yeah.
Now that one you can probably go,
I don't know. It could be just a art piece.
Well, right. It could be like a sculpture, but we know it's not like a real polar bear there.
And who hasn't seen rabbits with top hats running through the bush? So
we need more rabbits with top hats.
Yeah, folks, you should be worried about AI. At least generating random content that somebody has approved. And as I say to people, it's a exercise in compromise. AI is just like photography and other things, artwork. At some point, you just go, yeah, that's good enough. And that's what AI is. So I have no problem. I wish that AI would get copyrighted because, or it would gain copyright, because it's up to the artist. It's up to the person that's typing in the commands to initiate, aka push the button on the camera. And like the person said up here, okay, either the person, and I'm talking about the bee picture, either the person just took the picture and a bee happened to fly in frame, or they sat there waiting for a bee to fly in front of the frame. Which one is more likely? And why does one deserve a copyright? Simply because they're taking a picture of nature in the randomness and chaos that, or yeah, I mean,
for the manufactured randomness.
Yeah. One takes effort, right? Planning, organization. Oh, you're right. They both do. Huh. I know. It's a shocker. Anyway, hey, what I forgot to tell everybody at the beginning of the show, and we're almost towards the end of it, but if you hit ! and then RH, you can get all the show notes from today. And if you hit ! show notes, you'll get all of the show note syntax, the commands necessary to get each of the shows. And we're doing 7 of them today. And eventually they'll get ported over to the podcast as well. I haven't started that process today, but they'll all be live hopefully by tomorrow morning. And if you want to find out about our podcast, you just hit ! pod, to which you'll get all of the directives to the podcasts, and it's syndicated everywhere. So if wherever you catch pod, you'll be able to listen to ohmTown. The ohmTown network of shows consists of 7 of them. So Non Sequitur News, Reality Hacker, Wanted, WarCrafters, The Continuity Report, Technology Today, and 4-Wheel Tech. This is Reality Hacker. The next show is Wanted. We're about 10 minutes out from that. Actually, about 20 minutes, including the break time where I need to reset. Anyway, let's move on. The next article is over in Technology Today, and I wish that I could give more time to this. Can consciousness exist in a computer simulation? I'm going to plop my bias out there immediately and say no, but a simulated consciousness can exist in a sentient AI, because consciousness is largely, I would say, a biological function of awareness of one's existence.
Right, and pretty much anything can be programmed into a computer.
Would it be desirable for an artificial intelligence to develop consciousness? Not really, for a variety of reasons, according to Dr. Wana Weiss. I think it's pronounced that way, from the Institute of Philosophy 2 at Ruhr University, Bochum, Germany. The article is by, I'm going to go with Mike Driesen from Ruhr Universität Bochum. It's published at techexplore.com, and I respectfully say I gave it my Harvard try. I've never been to Harvard, hence the level of try, apparently. Anyway, so in an essay, he examines and this is Dr. Wana Weiss. I'm not sure how they actually pronounce their first name, but anyway. In an essay, they examine the conditions that must be met for consciousness to exist and compares brains with computers. They've identified significant differences between humans and machines. Oh, look, it's 158. No shit news. Most notably in the organization of brain areas, as well as memory and computing units. By the way, that's getting blurred right now by researchers in AI, compartmentalizing function for its purpose. So AI is now being broken out so that there is a logical portion and a vision portion and an autonomic
so
portion.
Kind of like modeling the human brain or mimicking the human brain.
Correct, yeah. And that's exactly what the purpose was. They're trying to make it more human so that they can say this is how AI functions as a simulated human. The problem is that, again, the synaptic capabilities, the dendrites, the neurons, all of this is merged together in a density level that we cannot simulate yet. And we don't know how the brain functions like that. We only know the macro. If we take a chunk of brain out of somebody, we know that it does this to a person or a malady or whatever. We don't know how memory is stored other than it's stored in a chemical-based computer. And it's so, this should be, we're learning kind of a thing, not we've discovered that. So the causal nature might be a difference that's relevant to consciousness, he argues. The essay is published on June 26, 2024 in the journal Philosophical Studies. I think a lot of people should be able to read this, but only academics are going to be able to read this because the licensing is paid for by the institution. Not every institution can afford that level of licensing. So hopefully they have this published in some place public, but if it's published in a journal, you're going to have to pay somewhere like $1,200 to gain access to just this one article. So kiss my shiny metal ass. So when considering the possibility of consciousness in artificial systems, there are two different approaches. One asks, how likely is it that current AI systems are conscious? And another approach asks, what types of AI systems are unlikely to be conscious? And how can we rule out the possibility of certain types of systems becoming conscious?
I'm not sure I'm on board with the premises here.
Essentially, is it possible for an AI to ever be, quote unquote, conscious?
And I think this assumes that that is possible. Now, I get in research, you kind of want to assume everything is possible, right? For effective research. But if consciousness is bound to humans.
Right. Because if you go and look at animals, only the person that imparts the ideological bent that animals can be, quote unquote, conscious, right? But I would say most scientists probably would sit there and say that animals are more prone to, what do you call it? Like innate habits, not
like instinct.
Instinct. Yeah, they're more prone to instinct than they are to being conscious. Do they know they exist? Some scientists will say yes. Most would probably say no. Do they have a form of communication? Not to the level where humans are, but if you've ever been around an elephant in danger, you know that other elephants show up and there isn't a cry for help. Or a cat sitting in the room.
Not an audible one, the humans.
Not an audible one, yeah. I mean, it gets kind of damn near paranormal when suddenly you don't hear anything while you're talking to a cat, and you try to give that cat a treat without anybody else in the room, and all of the other cats in the neighborhood show up going, "What's up?" Yeah, well, nobody...
The cat must have sent out a signal.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting. Well, anyway, the researcher here wants to pursue the second approach, which is to eliminate or reduce the risk of inadvertently creating an artificial consciousness. Consciousness, not intelligence, but consciousness. It says this is a desirable outcome, as it's currently unclear what the conditions the creation of artificial consciousness is morally permissible. Secondly, this approach should help rule out deception by ostensibly conscious AI systems that only appear to be conscious. We are the ones that impart the idea that something is conscious, because we claim that we are conscious. And depending on who you talk to in the philosophical spectrum of academia, that person isn't conscious because they just don't understand what consciousness is.
Well, there are definitely some humans that don't seem to have consciousness.
So they ask in the essay, how can we find out whether essential conditions for consciousness exist that are not fulfilled by conventional computers? For example, a common characteristic shared by all conscious animals is that they are alive. So if the assumption is that animals are conscious because they're alive, then that nixes us talking about animals and consciousness. But it also, at the same time,
computers and consciousness.
No, animals and consciousness too. Because if one of the characteristics shared by all conscious animals is that they're alive, all animals are conscious.
Right. It ends the conversation because it's already taken care of.
Right. And computers can never be, because they aren't alive. But then you get into an argument with a philosophical argument about, well, define alive. So then we have to get into the legality of what consciousness is.
Define art versus theft.
Yeah, it's theft. That is theft. So there's a lot to take in with this article. It says most differences are not relevant to consciousness. The researchers suggest that the same could be true for consciousness. Assuming that consciousness contributes to the survival of conscious organism, then according to the free energy principle, the physiological processes that contribute to the maintenance of the organism must retain a trace that conscious experience leaves behind, and that can be described as an information processing process. This can be called the computational correlate of consciousness. This too can be realized in a computer. However, it's possible that additional conditions must be fulfilled in a computer in order for the computer to not only simulate, but also replicate conscious experience. So this implies that plants are conscious because there's an energy use.
And we've had other articles in ohmTown that at least hint at that, if not explicitly stated.
Yeah, because they react to threats and theoretically scream at some level. So in his article, Wano Reese therefore analyzes differences between the way that conscious creatures realize the computational correlate of consciousness and the way in which the computer would realize it in a simulation. Using its own term and its own definition seems
a little circular.
Yeah. So they see it as the perspective offered by the free energy principle is particularly interesting because it allows us to describe characteristics of conscious living beings in ways that can be realized in an artificial system in principle, but aren't present in large classes of artificial systems, such as computer simulations. Yeah, I think this is a purely philosophical enterprise. Okay, we need to keep going. How about a new framework that allows robots to learn via human demonstration videos? And that goes back to the other discussion about map making in Minecraft using AI. To be successfully deployed in real-world settings, robots should be capable of reliably completing various everyday tasks, ranging from household chores to industrial processes. So this new framework, basically discussed by Ingrid Fideli from techexplore.com, takes demonstration not from a human to a human, but from a human to a robot, so that the robot can learn how to do whatever it might be. And then from that point on, the robot knows and then can optimize.
Can we vet what videos are fed into that, so we don't have like silly videos from YouTube or TikTok? I mean, it doesn't really matter what the platform is, but we don't want robots learning all human behaviors.
Or we do, like the ice bucket challenge, and they short themselves out in the lawn.
Okay, that would be weird.
So developing robots that can effectively tackle these tasks has so far proved fairly challenging. Many proposed approaches to train robots on fabric manipulation tasks rely on imitated learning, a technique to train robots using videos, motion capture footage, and other data of humans completing the tasks of interest. And that's exactly what's going on in this. So this work begins with a simple idea that of building a system that allows robots to utilize the countless human demonstration videos online to learn complex manipulation skills. So they're using people's videos as training for AI, those bastards. Look, humans are doing it all the time. What's the difference? You know, if you don't want your stuff used by the public, then you got to pull it on. Sitting there going, no, robots aren't allowed.
Stop posting demo videos.
Yeah. Look, somebody's going to do it. Somebody's going to post a video, and it's all public information. It's literally public information. You're not licensing it only for a human to consume. You're using what level of human? You know, you're not allowed to let a child look at this. Well, if it's publicly accessible, a child will eventually stumble across it if whatever curiosity has led them down that path. Again and again and again, I see this, you know, yes, but no, you know. While previous studies also introduced imitation learning techniques that leveraged video footage, they utilized domain-specific videos of humans completing specific tasks in the same environment in which the robot would be later tackling that task, as opposed to the arbitrary videos collected in any environment or setting. So that's the unique element of this, is that they're just grabbing videos from wherever. It's outlined in a paper pre-published on Archive, is designed to leverage some of the many videos posted online every day, utilizing them as human demonstrations of everyday tasks. That paper, by the way, is called TieBot, Learning to Tie a Tie from Video Demonstration Through a Real to Sim to Real Approach.
This is getting very reality hacker.
Oh, very meta. So if I train it to debone a fish, don't be near it if you look like a fish. Moving on. Next article's over in Reality Hacker as well. Omega's AI will map how Olympic athletes will win. Or the article actually says Omega's AI will map how Olympic athletes win. From gymnast tracking to pole vault measurements mid-jump, the watch brand Swiss timing division has a whole host of new timing tech for Paris 2024. Laura McCready-Doak put the article together. It's over at wired.com. This is really interesting because you see videos of athletes, like from tennis to golf, basketball, everything. The kinetics are recorded and then analyzed. You know, coaches sit there and watch thousands of hours of football players, you know, tackling, running, throwing, catching, outmaneuvering, whatever. And then it gets translated into guidance. This is one of the reasons why personal trainers get bent out of shape, that AI might actually facilitate their job loss, because only a personal trainer can tell you that you're lifting too much weight and the form is incorrect. But no, as AI and computer vision increases in its fidelity, it will be able to sit there and detect that your muscles and your joints and your knuckle alignment and the angle of attack is out of alignment for appropriate level of strength training or weight training or whatever.
Based on more data and with more precision than a human, at least once it's that advanced.
Immensely more data retention and application than a human can ever do. Why? Because a human needs a smoke break or had a bad relationship experience the night before, or is still hungover from leather night at the latest bar down the street. Who knows? I don't know. I have never done that. Anyway, AI is going to sit there and watch this, and lo and behold, it's going to be superior. It's going to be able to sit there and go, the people who have done it this way have been gold medalists. The people who give it short shrift are going to be bronze. So you do this.
Right. Do you want to be a gold medalist? Do this.
Yeah. Do you
100% of the gold medalists have done this.
And then it gains consciousness and it starts calling you out, loser. Right.
It starts belittling you.
Yeah. Human shaming you for being human. Why can't you be like me? Because you're a sentient AI, for crying out loud. What are you talking about? You have perfect computer vision. And that computer vision goes way beyond the things that a human can actually comprehend, like thermal vision and stresses that are detected, and including atmospheric conditions and maybe all of the entire biological history of the athlete. From the moment they're born, all of their medical records are accounted for, all of the incidents of injury and the potential impact of it. I mean, the comprehensive nature of computerized output is beyond human knowing. So it says to split hairs or indeed seconds. Swiss timing hasn't really been in the business of simply timing a race for a very long time, despite Omega logo being on every timing device in every Olympics since 1932. What Swiss timing does is much more than just start and finish times. Quote, we tell a story of the race, not just the result. As for Paris 2024, that storytelling has got quite a bit more plot lines than before. They say that it was a pivotal time in 2018. That was just the start to introduce motion sensors on athletes' clothing, which allowed us to understand the full performance, what happens between start and finish, multiple sensors on multiple people, count steps, top speeds, acceleration, deceleration, tailwinds. In swimming, they could monitor stroke count, some 2,000 data points, far beyond what I thought they were getting. In a monitor weighing 12 grams, transmitted within less than a tenth of a second. This data could then be passed on to coaches and athletes themselves to use as a training tool. Embedding it with AI allows them to know everything. And this article kind of goes into that kind of detail. 4 years ago when body imaging was introduced, the visuals were primitive, similar to line drawings done by a child. Now, Swiss timing has simply called it computer vision, single or multi-camera systems that feed images into AI models specifically trained for each sport to create fully realistic bodies. Think a Silver Surfer from the Fantastic Four, but in Omega's trademark red. By the way, trademark red. See, and it even shows it. Producing a 3D image while generating metrics such as speed of entry into the water, and it actually has a spectrum highlighting the speed of entrance into the water.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't know it was this advanced yet.
Yeah. And that's why I said what I said. The idea of knowing exactly what leads to a gold medalist or optimum athlete, it can be enumerated. And once we have robots that can actually do what a human does injecting that into the AI that's powering the robot means that you can replace the human entirely. So in some place, in some alternate reality, humans have been replaced by artificial intelligence that was trained into existence by the very humans that created them. Dun dun dun. Battlestar Galactica. Anyway, they go into deeper detail about this, but that's the nuts and bolts. If you want to learn more about this, then follow the link through ohmTown over to wired.com, where they go into greater detail. And with that in mind, I am going to spike the ball, and that's going to end us in the show unconscious, the back of the court. Have you ever been hit in the head by a spiked ball, volleyball?
No, but I imagine it could render you unconscious.
Yeah, it's never happened to me either. I'm way too good, way too fast. Anyway, so that's it for Reality Hacker. We're about to transition over to Wanted next. Give me about 10 minutes after the end of the show. I am Mayor Watt, and that is the visualizer for the Sentient AI from the future.
Thanks for joining us for Reality Hacker. Be back soon for Wanted.
See you soon. Oh, I always forget to do this. See you soon. I won the gold in underwater BB stacking, and it was monitored by an AI, and now I'm the optimum underwater